Lily Margrave smoothed her gloves out on her knee with a nervous gesture, and darted a glance at the occupant of a big chair opposite her. She had heard of Monsieur Hercule Poirot, a well-known investigator, but this was the first time she had seen him in the flesh. The comic, almost ridiculous aspect that he presented disturbed her conception of him. Could this funny little man with the egg-shaped head and enormous moustaches really do the wonderful things that were claimed for him? His occupation at the moment struck her as particularly childish. He was piling small blocks of coloured wood, one upon the other, and seemed far more interested in the result than the stories she was telling. At her sudden silence, however, he looked sharply across at her. "Mademoiselle, continue, I pray of you. It is not that I do not attend. I attend very carefully, I assure you." He began once more to pile the little blocks of wood, one upon the other, while the girl's voice took up the tale again. It was a gruesome tale, a tale of violence and tragedy, but the voice was so calm and unemotional, the recital was so concise, that something of the savour of humanity seemed to have been left out of it. She stopped at last. "I hope," she said anxiously, "that I have made everything clear." Poirot nodded his head several times in emphatic assent. Then he swept his hand across the wooden blocks, scattering them over the table. Then, leaning back in his chair, his fingertips pressed together, and his eyes on the ceiling, he began to recapitulate. Sir Reuben Astwell was murdered 10 days ago, on Wednesday, the day before yesterday. His nephew, Charles Levison, was arrested by the police. The facts against him, as far as you know, are— you will correct me if I am wrong, mademoiselle. Sir Reuben was sitting up late writing in his own special sanctum, the tower room. Mr. Levison came in late, letting himself in with a latchkey. He was overheard quarrelling with his uncle by the butler, whose room is directly below the tower room. The quarrel ended with a sudden thud, as of a chair being thrown over, and a half-smothered cry. Butler was alarmed and thought of getting up to see what was the matter, but as a few seconds later he heard Mr. Levison leave the room, gaily whistling a tune, he thought nothing more of it. On the following morning, however, a housemaid discovered Sir Reuben dead by his desk. He had been struck down by some heavy instrument. The butler, I gather, did not at once tell this story to the police. That was natural, I think, mademoiselle?" The sudden question made Lily Margrave start. "I beg your pardon?" "One looks for humanity in these matters, does one not?" said the little man. "As you recited the story to me so admirably, so concisely, you made of the actors in the drama machines, puppets. But me, I always look for human nature. I say to myself, this butler, what did you say his name was? His name is Parsons. This Parsons, then. He will have the characteristics of his class. He will object very strongly to the police. He will tell him as little as possible. Above all, he will say nothing that might seem to incriminate a member of the household. A housebreaker, a burglar, he will cling to that idea with all the strength of extreme obstinacy. Yes, the loyalties of the servant class are an interesting study." He leaned back, beaming. "In the meantime, everyone in the household has told his or her tale, Mr. Levison among the rest, and his tale was that he had come in late and gone up to bed without seeing his uncle. That is what he said, and no one saw reason to doubt that tale, except, of course, Parsons. Then there comes down an inspector from Scotland Yard. Inspector Miller, you said, did you not? I know him. I have come across him once or twice in the past. He is what they call the sharp man, the ferret, the weasel. Yes, I know him. And the sharp Inspector Miller, he sees what the local inspector has not seen. But Parsons is ill at ease and uncomfortable, and knows something he has not told. He makes short work of Parsons. By now it has been clearly proved that no one broke into the house that night, that the murderer must be looked for inside the house and not outside. And Parsons is unhappy and frightened and feels very relieved to have his secret knowledge drawn out of him. He has done his best to avoid scandal, but there are limits. And so Inspector Miller listens to Parsons' story and asks a question or two, and then makes some private investigations of his own. The case he builds up is very strong. Very strong. Blood-stained fingers rested on the corner of a chest in the tower room, and the fingerprints were those of Charles Leveson. A housemaid told him she emptied a basin of blood-stained water in Mr. Leveson's room the morning after the crime. He explained to her that he had cut his finger, and he had a little cut there. Oh, yes, but such a very little cut. The cuff of his evening shirt had been washed, but they found blood-stains in the sleeve of his coat. He was hard-pressed for money, and he inherited money at Sir Reuben's death. Oh, yes. A very strong case, mademoiselle. And yet you come to me today. Lily Margrave shrugged her slender shoulders. As I told you, Monsieur Poirot, Lady Astwell sent me. You would not have come of your own accord, eh? The little man glanced at her shrewdly. The girl did not answer. You do not reply to my question. Lily Margrave began smoothing her gloves again. It's rather difficult for me, Monsieur Poirot. I have my loyalty to Lady Astwell to consider. Strictly speaking, I am only her paid companion, but she has treated me more as though I were a daughter or a niece. She has been extraordinarily kind, and whatever her faults, I should not like to appear to criticize her actions, or, well, to prejudice you against taking up the case. Impossible to prejudice Hercule Poirot. I perceive that you think Lady Astwell has in her bonnet a buzzing bee. Come now, is it not so? If I must say, speak, mademoiselle. I think the whole thing is simply silly. It strikes you like that, eh? I don't want to say anything against Lady Astwell. Oh, I comprehend. Oh, I comprehend perfectly. His eyes invited her to go on. She really is a very good sort, and frightfully kind, but she isn't, how can I put it? She isn't an educated woman. You know she was an actress when Sir Reuben married her, and she has all sorts of prejudices and superstitions. If she says a thing, it must be so, and she simply won't listen to reason. The inspector was not very tactful with her, and it put her back up. She says it is nonsense to suspect Mr. Leveson, and just the sort of stupid, pig-headed mistake the police would make. And that, of course, dear Charles did not do it. But she has no reasons, eh? None whatever. Oh, is that so? Really now? I told her that it would be no good coming to you, a mere statement like that, nothing to go on. Oh, you told her that? Did you really? Oh, that is interesting. His eyes swept over Lily Margrave in a quick, comprehensive survey, taking in the details of her neat black suit, a touch of white at her throat, and the smart little black hat. He saw the elegance of her, the pretty face with its slightly pointed chin, and the dark blue, long-lashed eyes. Insensibly his attitude changed. He was interested now, not so much in the case as in the girl sitting opposite him. Lady Astwell is, I should imagine, mademoiselle, just a trifle inclined to be unbalanced and hysterical. Lily Margrave nodded eagerly. That describes her exactly. She is, as I told you, very kind, but it is impossible to argue with her or to make her see things logically. Perhaps she suspects someone on her own account, someone quite absurd. Well, that is exactly what she does do. She's taken a great dislike to Sir Reuben's secretary, poor man. She says she knows he did it, and yet it has been proved quite conclusively that poor Owen Trefusis cannot possibly have done it. And she has no reasons? Of course not. It is all intuition with her. Lily Margrave's voice was very scornful. I perceive, mademoiselle, that you do not believe in intuition. I think it is nonsense. Poirot leaned back in his chair. Their femme. They like to think that it is a special weapon that the good God has given them, and for every once that it shows them the truth, at least 9 times it leads them astray. I know, but I have told you what Lady Astwell is like. You simply cannot argue with her. So you, mademoiselle, being wise and discreet, you come along to me as you were bidden, and you have managed to put me au courant of the situation. Of course, I know how very valuable your time is. Oh, you are too flattering, mademoiselle. It is true, though, indeed, at this present time I have many cases of moment at hand. Well, I was afraid that might be so. I will tell Lady Astwell, But Poirot did not rise also. Instead, he lay back in his chair and looked steadily up at the girl. "You are in haste to be gone, mademoiselle. Sit down one more moment, please, I pray of you." He saw the colour flood into her face and ebb out again. She sat down once more, slowly and unwillingly. "Mademoiselle is quick and decisive. She must make allowances for an old man like myself, who comes to his decision slowly. You mistook me, mademoiselle. I did not say that I would not go down to Lady Astwell. You will come, then?" The girl's tone was flat. She did not look at Poirot, but down at the ground, and so was unaware of the keen scrutiny with which he regarded her. "Tell Lady Astwell, mademoiselle, that I am entirely at her service. I will be at Mon Repos, is it not? This afternoon." He rose. The girl followed suit. I will tell her. It's very good of you to come, Monsieur Poirot. I am afraid, though, you will find you have been brought on a wild-goose chase." "Oh, very likely, but who knows?" He saw her out with punctilious courtesy to the door. Then he returned to the sitting-room, frowning, deep in thought. Once or twice he nodded his head. Then he opened the door and called to his valet. "My good George, prepare me, I pray of you, a little valise. I go down to the country this afternoon." "Very good, sir," said George. He was an extremely English-looking person, tall, cadaverous, and unemotional. "A young girl is a very interesting phenomenon, George," said Poirot, as he dropped once more into his armchair and lighted a tiny cigarette. "Especially, you understand, when she has brains. To ask someone to do a thing and at the same time put them against doing it, that is a very delicate operation. It requires finesse. She was very adroit. Oh, very adroit. But Hercule Poirot, my good George, is of a cleverness quite exceptional. I've heard you say so, sir. It is not the secretary she has in mind. Lady Astwell's accusation of him she treats with contempt. Just the same, she is anxious that no one should disturb the sleeping dogs. I, my good George, I go to disturb them. I go to make the dog fight. There is a drama there at Montmartre, a human drama, and it excites me. She was adroit, the little one, but not adroit enough. I wonder what I shall find there." In the dramatic pause which succeeded these words, George's voice broke apologetically. "Shall I pack dress clothes, sir?" Poirot looked at him sadly. "Always the concentration, the attention to your own job. You are very good for me, George." Poirot followed the butler up the soft carpeted stairs. This, without doubt, was Parsons, a very well-trained servant, with a manner suitably devoid of emotion. At the top of the staircase he turned to the right along a corridor. He passed through a door into a little anteroom, from which two more doors led. He threw open the left-hand one of these, and announced, "Monsieur Poirot, milady." The room was not a very large one, and it was crowded with furniture and knick-knacks. A woman dressed in black got up from a sofa and came quickly towards Poirot. "Monsieur Poirot," she said with outstretched hand. Her eye ran rapidly over the dandified figure. She paused a minute, ignoring the little man's bow over her hand, and his murmured, "Madame." And then, releasing his hand after a sudden vigorous pressure, she exclaimed, "I believe in small men. They are the clever ones. Inspector Miller is, I think, a tall man." "He is a bumptious idiot. Sit down by me, will you, Monsieur Poirot? Lily did her best to put me off sending for you, but I have not come to my time of life without knowing my own mind." "A rare accomplishment." "Lily's a dear girl, but she thinks she knows everything. And as often as not, in my experience, those sort of people are wrong. I am not clever, Monsieur Poirot, I never have been, but I am right where many a more stupid person is wrong. I believe in guidance. Now, do you want me to tell you who the murderer is, or do you not? A woman knows, Monsieur Poirot." "Does Miss Margrave know?" "What did she tell you?" "She gave me the facts of the case." "The facts? Oh, of course, they are dead against Charles. But I tell you, Monsieur Poirot, he didn't do it. I know he didn't." She bent upon him in an earnestness that was almost disconcerting. "You are very positive, Lady Astwell." "Trefusis killed my husband, Monsieur Poirot. I am sure of it." "Why?" "Why should he kill him, do you mean, or why am I sure?" "I tell you, I know it. I'm funny about those things. I make up my mind at once, and I stick to it." "Did Mr. Trefusis benefit in any way by Sir Reuben's death?" "Never left him a penny." "Now that shows you dear Reuben couldn't have liked or trusted him." "Had he been with Sir Reuben long, then?" "Close on 9 years." "It is a long time, a very long time, to remain in the employment of one man. Yes, Mr. Trefusis, he must have known his employer well." "What are you driving at? I don't see what that's got to do with it." "Oh, I was following a little idea of my own, a little idea, not interesting perhaps, but original, on the effects of service." "You are very clever, aren't you?" "Everybody says so." "Perhaps you will pay me that compliment too, madame, one of these days. But let us return to the motive. Tell me now of your household, of the people who were here in the house on the day of the tragedy." "There was Charles, of course." "Ah, now he is your husband's nephew, I understand, but not yours." "Yes, Charles is the only son of Reuben's sister. She married a comparatively rich man, but one of those crashes came. They do in the city, and he died, and his wife too, and Charles came to live with us. He was 23 at the time. He was going to be a barrister. But when the trouble came, Reuben took him into his office." "He was industrious, Monsieur Charles?" "I like a man who's quick on the uptake," said Lady Astwell with a nod of approval. "No, that's just the trouble. Charles was not industrious. He was always having rows with his uncle over some muddle or other that he'd made. Not that poor Reuben was an easy man to get on with. Many's the time I've told him he had forgotten what it's like to be young himself. He was different in those days, Monsieur Poirot." Lady Astwell heaved a sigh of reminiscence. "Changes must come, madame. It is the law. Still, he was never really rude to me. At least if he was always sorry afterwards. Poor dear Reuben. He was difficult, eh?" "I could always manage him," said Lady Astwell, with the air of a successful lion-tamer. "But it was rather awkward sometimes when he would lose his temper with the servants. There are ways of doing that, and Reuben's was not the right way." "How exactly did Sir Reuben leave his money, Lady Astwell?" "Half to me and half to Charles. The lawyers don't put it simply like that, but that's what it amounts to." I see. "Now, Lady Astwell, I will demand of you that you will describe to me the household. It was yourself and Sir Reuben's nephew, Mr. Charles Levison, and his secretary, Mr. Owen Trefusis, and there was Miss Lily Margrave. Perhaps you will tell me something of that young lady." "You want to know about Lily?" "Yes. Has she been with you long?" "About a year. I've had a lot of secretary companions, you know, but somehow or other they all get on my nerves. Lily was different. She was tactful and full of common sense. And besides, she looked so nice. I do like to have a pretty face about me, Monsieur Poirot. I'm a funny kind of person. I take likes and dislikes straight away. As soon as I saw that girl, I said to myself, she'll do." "Did she come to you through friends, Lady Astwell?" "I think she answered an advertisement. Yes, that was it." "You know something of her people, or where she comes from?" "Her father and mother are out in India, I believe. I don't really know much about them. But you can see at a glance that Lily is a lady, can't you, Monsieur Poirot?" "Oh, perfectly. Of course, I'm not a lady myself. I know it, and the servants know it, but there's nothing mean-spirited about me. I can appreciate the real thing when I see it, and no one could be nicer than Lily has been to me. I look upon the girl almost as a daughter, Monsieur Poirot. Indeed I do." Poirot's right hand strayed out, and straightened one or two of the objects lying on a table near him. "Did Sir Reuben share this feeling?" His eyes were on the knickknacks, but doubtless he noted the pause before Lady Astwell's answer came. "With a man it's different. Of course they got on very well." "Thank you, madame. And these were the only people in the house that night, except, of course, for servants?" "Oh, there's Victor." "Victor?" "Yes, my husband's brother, you know, and his partner." "He lived with you?" "No, he just arrived on a visit. He's been out in West Africa for the past few years." "West Africa." Poirot had learned that Lady Astwell could be trusted to develop a subject herself, if sufficient time was given her. They say it's a wonderful country, but I think it's the kind of place that has a very bad effect on a man. They drink too much, and they get uncontrolled. None of the Astwells has a good temper, and Victor's, since he came back from Africa, has been simply too shocking. He has frightened me once or twice. Did he frighten Miss Margrave, I wonder? Lily? Oh, I don't think he's seen much of Lily. Poirot made a note or two in a diminutive notebook. Then he put the pencil back in its loop and returned the notebook to his pocket. I thank you, Lady Astwell. I will now, if I may, interview Parsons. Will you have him up here? Lady Astwell's hand moved towards the bell. Poirot arrested the gesture quickly. No, 1,000 times no. I will descend to him. If you think it's better. Lady Astwell was clearly disappointed at not being able to participate in the forthcoming scene. Poirot adopted an air of secrecy. It is essential, he said mysteriously, and left Lady Astwell duly impressed. He found Parsons in the butler's pantry, polishing silver. Poirot opened the proceedings with one of his funny little bows. I must explain myself. I am a detective agent. Yes, sir, we gathered as much. His tone was respectful, but aloof. Lady Astwell sent for me. She is not satisfied. No, she is not satisfied at all. I have heard her ladyship say so on several occasions. In fact, I recount to you the things you already know. Let us not waste time on these bagatelles. Take me, if you will be so good, to your bedroom and tell me exactly what it is you heard there on the night of the murder. The butler's room was on the ground floor, adjoining the servants' hall. It had barred windows, and the strong room was in one corner of it. Parsons indicated the narrow bed. I had retired, sir, at 11 o'clock. Miss Margrave had gone to bed, and Lady Astwell was with Sir Reuben in the tower room. Lady Astwell was with Sir Reuben. Proceed. The tower room, sir, is directly over this. If people are talking in it, one can hear the murmur of voices, but naturally not anything that is said. I must have fallen asleep about 11:30. It was just 12 o'clock when I was awakened by the sound of the front door being slammed to, and I knew that Mr. Leveson had returned. Presently I heard footsteps overhead, and a minute or two later Mr. Leveson's voice talking to Sir Reuben. It was my fancy at the time, sir, that Mr. Leveson was, I should not exactly like to say drunk, but inclined to be a little indiscreet and noisy. He was shouting at his uncle at the top of his voice. I caught a word or two here or there, but not enough to understand what it was all about. And then there was a sharp cry and a heavy thud. There was a pause, and Parsons repeated the last words. A heavy thud. If I mistake not, it is a dull thud in most works of romance. Maybe, sir, it was a heavy thud I heard. 1,000 pardons. Do not mention it, sir. After the thud, in the silence, I heard Mr. Leveson's voice, as plain can be, raised high. My God, he said, my God, just like that, sir. Parsons, from his first reluctance to tell the tale, had now progressed to a thorough enjoyment of it. He fancied himself mightily as a narrator. Poirot played up to him. Mon Dieu! What emotion you must have experienced! Yes, indeed, sir, as you say, sir. Not that I thought very much of it at the time, but it did occur to me to wonder if anything was amiss, and whether I had better go up and see. I went to turn the electric light on, and was unfortunate enough to knock over a chair. I opened the door and went through the servants' hall, and opened the other door, which gives on to a passage. The back stairs lead up from there, and as I stood at the bottom of them, hesitating, I heard Mr. Leveson's voice from up above, speaking hearty and cheery-like. No harm done, luckily, he said. Good night. And I heard him move off along the passage to his own room, whistling. Well, of course, I went back to bed at once. Just something knocked over, that's all, I thought. I ask you, sir, was I to think Sir Reuben was murdered, with Mr. Levison saying good night and all? You are sure it was Mr. Levison's voice you heard?" Parsons looked at the little Belgian pityingly, and Poirot saw clearly enough that, right or wrong, Parsons' mind was made up on this point. "Is there anything further you would like to ask me, sir?" "There is one thing. Do you like Mr. Levison?" "I beg your pardon, sir?" "Oh, it is a simple question. Do you like Mr. Levison?" Parsons, from being startled at first, now seemed embarrassed. "The general opinion in the servants' hall, sir?" "By all means, put it that way if it pleases you." "The opinion, sir, is that Mr. Levison is an open-handed young gentleman, but not, if I may say so, particularly intelligent, sir." "Ah. Do you know, Parsons, that without having seen him, that is also precisely my opinion of Mr. Levison?" "Indeed, sir. What is your I beg your pardon. What is the opinion of the servants' hall of the secretary?" "He is a very quiet, patient gentleman, sir, anxious to give no trouble." "Her ladyship, sir, is apt to be a little hasty in her judgments." "Then, in the opinion of the servants' hall, Mr. Levison committed the crime?" "We none of us wish to think it was Mr. Levison. Plainly, we didn't think he had it in him, sir." "But he has a somewhat violent temper, has he not?" "If you're asking me who had the most violent temper in the house—" Poirot put up a hand. "But that is not what my question would be. My question would be, who has the best temper?" Parsons stared at him, open-mouthed. Poirot wasted no further time on him. With an amiable little bow, he was always amiable, he left the room and wandered out into the big square hall of Monrepos. There he stood a moment or two in thought. Then, at a slight sound that came to him, cocked his head to one side in the manner of a perky robin, and finally, with noiseless steps, crossed to one of the doors that led out of the hall. He stood in the doorway, looking into the room, a small room furnished as a library. At a big desk at the farther end of it sat a thin, pale young man, busily writing. He had a receding chin and wore pince-nez. Poirot watched him for some minutes, and then he broke the silence by giving a completely artificial and theatrical cough. "Ahem!" The young man at the desk stopped writing and turned his head. He did not appear unduly startled, but an expression of perplexity gathered on his face as he eyed Poirot. The latter came forward with a little bow. "I have the honour of speaking to Monsieur Trefusis, yes?" "Ah, my name is Poirot, Hercule Poirot. You may perhaps have heard of me." "Oh, yes, certainly, yes." Owen Trefusis was about 33 years of age, and the detective saw at once why nobody was inclined to treat Lady Astwell's accusation seriously. Mr. Owen Trefusis was a prim, proper young man, disarmingly meek, the type of man who can be and is systematically bullied. One could feel quite sure that he would never display resentment. "Lady Astwell sent for you, of course. She mentioned that she was going to do so. Is there any way in which I can help you?" His manner was polite, without being effusive. Poirot accepted a chair, and murmured gently, "Has Lady Astwell said anything to you of her beliefs and suspicions?" "Oh, as far as that goes, I believe she suspects me. It's absurd, but there it is. She's hardly spoken a civil word to me since Sir Reuben's death, and she shrinks against the wall as I pass by." His manner was perfectly natural, and there was more amusement than resentment in his voice. Poirot nodded with an air of engaging frankness. "Between ourselves, she said the same thing to me. I did not argue with her. I have made it a rule never to argue with very positive ladies. You comprehend? It is a waste of time." "Oh, quite. I say yes, madame, or perfectly, madame, précisement, madame. They mean nothing, those words, but they soothe all the same. I make my investigations, although it seems almost impossible that anyone except Monsieur Leveson could have committed the crime. Yet, well, the impossible has happened before now. I understand your position perfectly. Please regard me entirely at your service. Bon, we understand one another. Now recount to me the events of that evening. You better start with dinner. Well, Leveson was not at dinner, as you doubtless know. He had a serious disagreement with his uncle and went off to dine at the golf club. Sir Reuben was in a very bad temper in consequence. Not too amiable, c'est monsieur? Well, no. He was a Tartar. I haven't worked with him for 9 years without knowing most of his little ways. He was an extraordinarily difficult man, Monsieur Poirot. He would get into childish fits of rage and abuse anybody who came near him. I was used to it by that time. I got into the habit of paying absolutely no attention to anything he said. He was not bad-hearted, really, but he could be most foolish and exasperating in his manner. The great thing was never to answer him back. Were other people as wise as you in that respect? Trefusis shrugged his shoulders. Lady Astwell enjoyed a good row. She was not in the least afraid of Sir Reuben, and she always stood up to him and gave him as good as she got. They always made it up afterwards. Sir Reuben was really devoted to her. Did they quarrel that night? Well, I believe so. What made you ask? An idea, that is all. Well, I don't know, of course, but things looked as though they were working up that way. Poirot did not pursue the topic. Who else was at dinner? Miss Margrave, Mr. Victor Astwell, and myself. And afterwards? Well, we went into the drawing-room. Sir Reuben did not accompany us. About 10 minutes later he came in and hauled me over the coals for some trifling matter about a letter. I went up with him to the tower-room and set the thing straight. Then Mr. Victor Astwell came in and said he had something he wanted to talk to his brother about, so I went downstairs and joined the two ladies. About a quarter of an hour later I heard Sir Reuben's bell, ringing violently, and Parsons came to say I was to go up to Sir Reuben at once. As I entered the room, Mr. Victor Astwell was coming out. He nearly knocked me over. Something had evidently happened to upset him. He has a very violent temper. I really believe he didn't see me. Did Sir Reuben make any comment on the matter? He said Victor was a lunatic. He will do for someone one of these days, when he's in one of his rages. Ah. Have you any idea what the trouble was about? I couldn't say at all. Poirot turned his head very slowly and looked at the secretary. Those last words had been uttered too hastily. He formed the conviction that Trefusis could have said more had he wished to do so. But once again Poirot did not press the question. And then? Proceed, I pray of you. I worked with Sir Reuben for about an hour and a half. At 11 o'clock Lady Astwell came in, and Sir Reuben told me I could go to bed. And you went? Yes. Have you any idea how long she stayed with him? None at all. Her room is on the first floor, and mine is on the second. I would not hear her go to bed. I see. Poirot nodded his head once or twice, then sprung to his feet. And now, monsieur, take me to the tower-room. He followed the secretary up the broad stairs to the first landing. Here Trefusis led him along the corridor and through a baize door at the end of it, which gave on to the servants' staircase, and on a short passage that ended in a door. They passed through this door and found themselves on the scene of a crime. It was a lofty room, twice as high as any of the others, and was roughly about 30 feet square. Swords and a sachet adorned the wall, and many native curios were arranged about on tables. At the far end, in the embrasure of a window, was a large writing table. Poirot crossed straight to it. It was here Sir Reuben was found? Trefusis nodded. He was struck from behind, I understand. Again the secretary nodded. The crime was committed with one of these native clubs. Tremendously heavy thing. Death must have been practically instantaneous. That strengthens the conviction that the crime was not premeditated. A sharp quarrel, and her weapon snatched up almost unconsciously. Yes, it does not look well for poor Leveson. And the body was found fallen forward on the desk? No, it had slipped sideways to the ground. Ah, that is curious. Why curious? Because of this. Poirot pointed to a round, irregular stain on the polished surface of the writing table. That is a blood stain, mon ami. It may have splattered there, or it may have been made later when they moved the body. Very possibly, very possibly. There is only one door to this room? Well, there is a staircase here. Trefusis pulled aside a velvet curtain in the corner of the room nearest the door, where a small spiral staircase led upwards. This place was originally built by an astronomer. The stairs led up to the tower where the telescope was fixed. Sir Reuben had the place fitted up as a bedroom, and sometimes slept there if he was working very late. Poirot went nimbly up the stairs. The circular room upstairs was plainly furnished, with a camp bed, a chair, and a dressing table. Poirot satisfied himself that there was no other exit, and then came down again to where Trefusis stood waiting for him. "Did you hear Mr. Leveson come in?" Trefusis shook his head. "I was fast asleep by that time." Poirot nodded. He looked slowly round the room. "Eh bien, I do not think there was anything further here, unless perhaps you would be so kind as to draw the curtains." Obediently, Trefusis pulled the heavy black curtains across the window at the far end of the room. Poirot switched on the light, which was masked by a big alabaster bowl hanging from the ceiling. There was a desk light. For reply, the secretary clicked on a powerful green-shaded hand lamp which stood on the writing table. Poirot switched the other light off, then on, then off again. "C'est bien. I have finished here. Dinner is at 7:30. I thank you, Monsieur Trefusis, for your many amiabilities. Not at all." Poirot went thoughtfully along the corridor to the room appointed for him. The inscrutable George was there, laying out his master's things. "My good George, I shall, I hope, meet at dinner a certain gentleman who begins to intrigue me greatly. A man who has come home from the tropics, George, with a tropical temper, so it is said. A man whom Parsons tries to tell me about, and whom Lily Margrave does not mention. The late Sir Reuben had a temper of his own, George. Supposing such a man was to come into contact with a man whose temper was worse than his own. How do you say it? The fur would jump about, eh?" "Would fly is the correct expression, sir. And it is not always the case, sir. Not by a long way." "No?" "No, sir. Well, there was my Aunt Jemima, sir. A most shrewish tongue she had. Bullied a poor sister of hers who lived with her something shocking, she did. Nearly worried the life out of her. But if anyone came along who stood up to her, well, it was a very different thing. It was meekness she couldn't bear." "Ah, it is suggestive, that. Is there anything I can do in any way to assist you, sir?" "Certainly. You can find out for me what colour evening dress Miss Lily Margrave wore that night, and which housemaid attends her." George received these commands with his usual stolidity. "Very good, sir. I will have the information for you in the morning." Poirot rose from his seat and stood gazing into the fire. "You are very useful to me, George. Do you know, I shall not forget your Aunt Jemima." Poirot did not, after all, see Victor Astwell that night. A telephone message came from him that he was detained in London. "He attends to the affairs of your late husband's business, eh?" asked Poirot of Lady Astwell. "Victor is a partner. He went out to Africa to look into some mining concessions for the firm. It was mining, wasn't it, Lily?" "Yes, Lady Astwell." "Gold mines, I think. Or was it copper or tin? You ought to know, Lily. You were always asking Reuben questions about it. Oh, do be careful, dear. You almost had that vase over. It is dreadfully hot in here with the fire. Shall I open the window a little?" "If you like, dear." Poirot watched while the girl went across to the window and opened it. She stood there a minute or two, breathing in the cool night air. Then she returned and sat down in her seat. Poirot said to her politely. "So mademoiselle is interested in mines?" "Oh, not really. I listened to Sir Reuben, but I don't know anything about the subject." "You pretended very well then. Poor Reuben actually thought you had some ulterior motive in asking all those questions." The little detective's eyes had not moved from the fire, into which he was steadily staring. But nevertheless he did not miss the quick flush of vexation on Lily Margrave's face. Tactfully he changed the conversation. When the hour for good nights came, Poirot said to his hostess, "May I have just 2 little words with you, madame?" Lily Margrave vanished discreetly. Lady Astwell looked inquiringly at the detective. "You were the last person to see Sir Reuben alive that night?" She nodded. Tears sprang into her eyes, and she hastily held a black-edged handkerchief to them. "Ah, do not distress yourself, I beg of you, do not distress yourself. It's all very well, Monsieur Poirot, but I can't help it. I am a triple imbecile thus to vex you. No, go on. What were you going to say?" "It was about 11 o'clock, I fancy, when you went into the tower room, and Sir Reuben dismissed Mr. Trefusis. Is that right?" "It must have been about then." "How long were you with him?" "It was just 11:45 when I got up to my room. I remember glancing at the clock." "Lady Astwell, will you tell me what your conversation with your husband was about?" Lady Astwell sank down onto the sofa and broke down completely. Her sobs were vigorous. "We quarrelled." "What about?" "Lots of things. It began with Lily. Reuben took such a dislike to her for no reason. Said he caught her interfering with his papers. He wanted to send her away, and I said she was a dear girl and I wouldn't have it. And then he started shutting me down, and I wouldn't have that, so I just told him what I thought of him. Oh, not that I really meant it, Monsieur Poirot. He said he had taken me out of the gutter to marry me, and I said, oh, but what does it matter now? I shall never forgive myself. You know how it is, Monsieur Poirot. I always did say a good row clears the air, and oh, how was I to know someone was going to murder him that very night? Poor old Reuben." Poirot had listened sympathetically to this outburst. "I have caused you suffering. I apologize. Let us now be very businesslike, very practical and exact. You still cling to your idea that Mr. Trefusis murdered your husband?" Lady Astwell drew herself up. "A woman's instinct, Monsieur Poirot, never lies." "Oh, exactly. But when did he do it?" "When? After I left him, of course." "You left Sir Reuben at 11:45. At 5 minutes to 12 Mr. Leveson came in. In that 10 minutes, you say the secretary came along from his bedroom and murdered him?" "It's perfectly possible." "So many things are possible. It could be done in 10 minutes. Oh, yes. But was it?" "Well, of course he says he was in bed fast asleep, but who is to know if he was or not?" "Nobody saw him about." "Everybody else was in bed and fast asleep. Of course nobody saw him." "I wonder." "Bien, Lady Astwell. I wish you good night." George deposited a tray of early morning coffee by his master's bedside. Miss Margrave, sir, wore a dress of light green chiffon on the night in question. "Thank you, George. You are most reliable." "The third housemaid looks after Miss Margrave, sir. Her name is Gladys." "Thank you, George. You are invaluable." "Not at all, sir." "It is a fine morning. No one is likely to be astir very early. I think, my good George, that we shall have the tower room to ourselves if we proceed there to make a little experiment." "You need me, sir. The experiment will not be painful." The curtains were still drawn in the tower room when they arrived there. George was about to pull them when Poirot restrained him. "We will leave the room as it is. Just turn on the desk lamp. Now, my good George, sit down in that chair. Dispose yourself as though you were writing. Très bien. Me, I seize a club. I steal up behind you, so, and I hit you on the back of the head." "Yes, sir." "Ah, but when I hit you, do not continue to write. You comprehend? I cannot be exact. I cannot hit you with the same force with which the assassin hit Sir Reuben. When it comes to that point, we must do the make-believe. I hit you on the head, and you collapse, so. the arms well relaxed, the body limp. Permit me to arrange you. No, no, do not flex your muscles. Ah, you press admirably with trousers, George, but the imagination, you possess it not. Get up and let me take your place. Now, I write busily. You steal up behind me, you hit me on the head with a club, crash! The pen slips my fingers, I drop forward. But not very far forward, for the chair is low, and the desk is high, and moreover my arms support me. Have the goodness, George, to go back to the door, stand there, and tell me what you see. Yes, George? I see you sitting at the desk. Sitting at the desk. It's a little difficult to see plainly, sir. You being such a long way away, sir, and the lamp being so heavily shaded. If I might turn on this light, sir. No, not at all. We shall do very well as we are. Here am I, bending over the desk. There you are, standing by the door. Advance now, George, advance, and put your hand on my shoulder. Lean on me a little, George, to steady yourself on your feet. Ah, voila. Hercule Poirot's limp body slid artistically sideways. I collapse. So, yes, it is very well imagined. There is now something most important that must be done. Indeed, sir? Yes, it is necessary that I should breakfast well. The little man laughed heartily at his own joke. The stomach, George! It must not be ignored. George maintained a disapproving silence. Poirot went downstairs, chuckling happily to himself. He was pleased at the way things were shaping. After breakfast he made the acquaintance of Gladys, the third housemaid. He was very interested in what she could tell him of a crime. She was sympathetic towards Charles, although she had no doubt of his guilt. Poor young gentleman, sir. It seems hard, it does, him not being quite himself at the time. He and Miss Margrave should have got on well. Very standoffish Miss Lily was with him. She wouldn't have no carryings on, and she made it plain. He was fond of her, was he? Oh, only in passing, so to speak. No harm in it, sir. Mr. Victor Astwell, now, he is properly gone on Miss Lily. Sweet on her straight away he was. Miss Lily is just like a lily, isn't she, sir? So tall and such a lovely shade of gold hair. She should wear a green evening frock. Now, there is this certain shade of green. She's got one, sir. Of course she can't wear it now, being in mourning, but she had it on the very night Sir Reuben died. It should be a light green, not a dark green. It is a light green, sir. If you wait a minute, I'll show it to you. Miss Lily's just gone out of the dogs. Poirot nodded. He knew that as well as Gladys did. In fact, it was only after seeing Lily safely off the premises that he had gone in search of a housemaid. Gladys hurried away and returned a few minutes later with a green evening dress on a hanger. Exquisite! Ah! Permit me to take it to the light, I mean. He took the dress from Gladys, turned his back on her, and hurried to a window. He bent over it, then held it out at arm's length. It is perfect, perfectly ravishing. 1,000 thanks for showing it to me. Not at all, sir. We all know Frenchmen are interested in ladies' dresses. Oh, you are too kind. He watched her hurry away again with the dress. Then he looked down at his 2 hands and smiled. In the right hand was a tiny pair of nail scissors. In the left was a neatly clipped fragment of green chiffon. And now, to be heroic. He returned to his own apartment and summoned George. On the dressing-table, my good George, you will perceive a gold scarf-pin. Yes, sir. On the wash-stand is a solution of carbolic. Immerse, I pray you, the point of the pin in the carbolic. George did as he was bid. He had long ago ceased to wonder at the vagaries of his master. I've done that, sir. Très bien. Now, approach. I tender to you my first finger. Insert the point of the pin in it. Excuse me, sir. You want me to prick you, sir? But yes, you have guessed correctly. You must draw blood, you understand, but not too much. George took hold of his master's finger. Poirot shut his eyes and leaned back. The valet stabbed at the finger with the scarf-pin, and Poirot uttered a shrill yell. What you have done is ample. Taking a small piece of green chiffon from his pocket, he dabbed his finger with it gingerly. The operation has succeeded to a miracle. You have no curiosity, George? Now that is admirable. The valet had just taken a discreet look out of the window. Excuse me, sir, but a gentleman's driven up in a large car. Ah! Poirot rose briskly to his feet. The elusive Mr. Victor Astwell. I go down to make his acquaintance. Poirot was destined to hear Mr. Victor Astwell some time before he saw him. A loud voice rang out from the hall. Mind what you're doing, you damned idiot! That case has got glass in it. Curse you, parson, out of our way! Put it down, you fool! Poirot skipped nimbly down the stairs. Victor Astwell was a big man. Poirot bowed to him politely. Who the devil are you? Poirot bowed again. My name is Hercule Poirot. Lord, Nancy sent for you after all, did she? He put a hand on Poirot's shoulder and steered him into the library. You're the fellow they make such a fuss about. Sorry for my language just now, that chauffeur mine's a damned ass, and Parsons always does get on my nerves, blithering old idiot. I don't suffer fools gladly, you know, but by all accounts you're not a fool. Eh, Monsieur Poirot? Ha ha! Those who have thought so have been sadly mistaken. Is that so? Well, so Nancy's carted you down here. Got a bee in her bonnet about the secretary. There's nothing in that. Trefusis is as mild as milk. Drinks milk, too, I believe. The fellow is a teetotaler. Rather a waste of your time, isn't it? If one has an opportunity to observe human nature, time is never wasted. Human nature, eh? Victor Astwell stared at him. Then he flung himself down in a chair. Anything I can do for you? Yes, you can tell me what your quarrel with your brother was about that evening. Nothing to do with the case. One can never be sure. It's nothing to do with Charles Levison. Lady Astwell thinks that Charles has nothing to do with murder. Oh, fancy. Parsons assumes that it was Monsieur Charles Levison who came in that night, but he did not see him. Remember, nobody saw him. It's very simple. Reuben had been pitching into young Charles, and not without good reason, I must say. Later on, he tried to bully me, and I told him a few home truths, and just to annoy him, I made up my mind to back the boy. I meant to see him that night so as to tell him how the land lay. When I went up to my room, I didn't go to bed. Instead, I left the door ajar and sat on a chair smoking. My room's on the second floor, Monsieur Poirot, and Charles's room is next to it. Pardon my interrupting you. Mr. Trefusis, he too sleeps on that floor? Mm-hmm. His room is just beyond mine. Nearer the stairs? No, the other way. A curious light came over Poirot's face, but the other didn't notice it, and went on. As I say, I waited up for Charles, and I heard the front door slam. I thought it was about 5 minutes to 12. There was no sign of Charles for about 10 minutes. When he did come up the stairs, I thought it was no good tackling him that night. He lifted his elbow significantly. I see. Poor devil couldn't walk straight. He was looking pretty ghastly, too. I put it down to his condition at the time, of course. I realize he comes straight from committing the crime now. You heard nothing from the tower room? No, but you must remember I was right at the other end of the building. The walls are thick, and I don't believe you would hear a pistol shot fired from there. I asked if he would like some help getting to bed, but he said he was all right, and went down into his room and banged the door. I undressed and went to bed. You realize, Monsieur Astwell, that your evidence is very important. I suppose so, at least. What do you mean? Your evidence for 10 minutes elapsed between the slamming of the front door and Levison's appearance upstairs. He himself says, so I understand, that he came into the house and went straight up to bed. But there is more than that. Lady Astwell's accusation of the secretary is fantastic, I admit, yet up to now it has not been proved impossible. But your evidence creates an alibi. Oh, how's that? Lady Astwell says that she left her husband at 11:45, while the secretary had gone to bed at 11 o'clock. The only time he could have committed the crime was between 11:45 and Charles Levison's return. Now, if you say you sat with your door open, well, he could not have come out of his room without your seeing him. That's so. There was no other staircase. No. To get down to the tower room, he'd had to have gone past my door, and he didn't. I'm quite sure of that. Anyway, Monsieur Poirot, as I said just now, the man is as meek as a parson, I assure you. But yes, I understand all that. And you will not tell me the subject of your quarrel with Sir Reuben? You'll get nothing out of me. I can always be discreet, while a lady is concerned. Damn you! How did... What do you mean? I was thinking of Miss Lily Margrave. Oh, you're too clever for me, Monsieur Poirot. Yes, it was Lily we quarrelled about. Reuben had his knife into her. He'd ferreted out something or other about the girl, false references, something of that kind. I don't believe a word of it myself. And then he went further than he had any right to do. Talked about her stealing down at night and getting out of the house to meet some fellow or other. My God, I gave it to him. I told him that better men than he had been killed for saying less. That shut him up. Reuben was inclined to be a bit afraid of me when I get going. I hardly wonder at it. I think a lot of Lily Margrave. A nice girl through and through. Poirot did not answer. He was staring in front of him, seemingly lost in abstraction. He came out of his brown study with a jerk. I must, I think, promenade myself a little. There is a hotel here, yes? Two. The Golf Hotel up by the links, and the Mitre down by the station. I thank you. Yes, certainly. I must promenade myself a little. Poirot returned to Mont Repos with a very thoughtful face. Once or twice he drew something from his pocket and looked at it. It must be done, and soon as I can make the opportunity. His first proceeding on re-entering the house was to ask Parsons where Miss Margrave might be found. He was told that she was in the small study dealing with Lady Astwell's correspondence, and the information seemed to afford Poirot satisfaction. He found the little study without difficulty. Lady Margrave was seated at a desk by the window writing, but for her the room was empty. Poirot carefully shut the door behind him and came towards the girl. I may have a little minute of your time, mademoiselle? You will be so kind? Certainly. Lily Margrave put the papers aside and turned towards him. What can I do for you? On the evening of the tragedy, mademoiselle, I understand that when Lady Astwell went to her husband, you went straight up to bed. Is that so? Yes. You did not come down again by any chance? No. I think you said, mademoiselle, that you had not at any time that evening been in the tower room. I don't remember saying so, but as a matter of fact that is quite true. I was not in the tower room that evening. Poirot raised his eyebrows. Curious. What do you mean? Yes, very curious. How then do you account for this? He drew from his pocket a little scrap of stained green chiffon and held it up for the girl's inspection. Her expression did not change, but he felt rather than heard the sharp intake of breath. I don't understand, Monsieur Poirot. You wore, I understand, a green chiffon dress that evening, mademoiselle. This was torn from it. And you found it in the tower room? Whereabouts? Oh, for the moment, shall we just say, in the tower room? For the first time a look of fear sprang into the girl's eyes. She began to speak, then checked herself. Poirot watched her small white hands clenching themselves on the edge of the desk. I wonder if I did go into the tower room that evening. Before dinner, I mean. I don't think so. I'm almost sure I didn't. If that scrap has been in the tower room all this time, it seems very strange that the police did not find it. The police? They do not think of things that Hercule Poirot thinks of. I may have run in there a minute or two before dinner. Or it may have been the night before. I wore the same dress then. Yes, I'm almost sure it was the night before. I think not. Why? He shook his head slowly from side to side. What do you mean? She was leaning forward, staring at him, all the colour ebbing out of her face. You do not notice, mademoiselle, that this fragment is stained? There is no doubt about it. The stain is human blood. I mean, mademoiselle, that you are in the tower room after the crime was committed, not before. I think you will do well to tell me the whole truth, lest worse should befall you. He stood up now, a stern little figure of a man, his forefinger pointed accusingly at the girl. How did you find out? No matter, mademoiselle. I tell you, Hercule Poirot knows. I know all about Captain Humphrey Naylor, who stayed at the Mitre Hotel, and you went to meet him that night, did you not? Lily suddenly put her head down on her arms and burst into tears. Immediately Poirot relinquished his accusing attitude. There, my little one. Do not distress yourself. It is impossible to deceive Hercule Poirot. Once realize that, and all your troubles will be at an end. And now you will tell me the whole story, will you not? and will tell old Papa Poirot. It's not what you think it is, indeed. Humphrey, he's my brother. He never touched a hair of his head. Your brother. So that is how the land lies. Well, if you wish to save him from suspicion, you must tell me the whole story now, without reservation. I will tell you the truth, Monsieur Poirot. I can see now it will be absurd to do anything else. My real name is Lily Naylor, and Humphrey is my only brother. Some years ago, when he was out in Africa, he discovered a gold mine, or rather, I should say, discovered the presence of gold. I can't tell you this part of it properly, because I don't understand the technical details, but what it amounted to was this. The thing seemed likely to be a very big undertaking, and Humphrey came home with letters to Sir Reuben Astwell, in the hopes of getting him interested in the matter. I don't understand the rights of it even now, but I gather that Sir Reuben sent out an expert to report, and that he subsequently told my brother that the expert's report was unfavourable, and that he, Humphrey, had made a great mistake. So my brother went back to Africa on an expedition into the interior, and he was lost sight of. It was assumed that he and the expedition had perished. It was soon after that a company was formed to exploit the Mapala gold fields. When my brother got back to England, he at once jumped to the conclusion that those gold fields were identical to those he had discovered. Sir Reuben Astwell had apparently nothing to do with this company, and they had seemingly discovered the place all by themselves, but my brother was not satisfied. He was convinced Sir Reuben had deliberately swindled him. He became more and more violent and unhappy about the matter. We two are alone in the world, Monsieur Poirot, and as it was necessary then for me to go out and earn my living, I conceived the idea of taking a post in this household and trying to find out if any connection existed between Sir Reuben and the Mapala goldfields. For obvious reasons I concealed my real name, and I'll admit frankly that I used a forged reference. There were many applicants for the post, most of them with better qualifications than mine, so... Well, I wrote a beautiful letter from the Duchess of Perthshire, who I know had gone to America. I thought a duchess would have a great effect upon Lady Astwell. I was quite right. She engaged me on the spot. Since then I have been that hateful thing, a spy, and until lately with no success. Sir Reuben is not a man to give away his business secrets. But when Victor Astwell came back from Africa, he was less guarded in his talk, and I began to believe that after all Humphrey had not been mistaken. My brother came down here about a fortnight before the murder, and I crept out of the house to meet him secretly at night. I told him the things Victor Astwell had said, and he became very excited and assured me I was definitely on the right track. But after that things began to go wrong. Someone must have seen me stealing out of the house and reported the matter to Sir Reuben. He became suspicious, and he hunted up my references and soon discovered the fact they were forged. The crisis came on the day of the murder. I think he thought I was after his wife's jewels. Whatever his suspicions were, he had no intention of allowing me to remain any longer at Monrepos, though he agreed not to prosecute me on account of the references. Lady Astwell took my part throughout and stood up valiantly to Sir Reuben. She paused. Poirot's face was very grave. And now, mademoiselle, we come to the night of the murder. To begin with, Monsieur Poirot, I must tell you that my brother had come down again, and that I had arranged to creep out and meet him once more. And I went up to my room, as I've said. I did not go to bed. Instead, I waited till I thought everyone was asleep, and then I stole down again and out by the side door. I met Humphrey and acquainted him in a few hurried words with what had occurred. I told him that I believed the papers he wanted were in Sir Reuben's safe in the tower room, and we agreed as a last desperate adventure to try and get hold of them that night. I was to go in first and see that the way was clear. I heard the church clock strike 12 as I went in by the side door. I was halfway up the stairs leading to the tower room when I heard a thud of something falling, and a voice cried out, "My God!" A minute or two afterwards the door of the tower room opened, and Charles Leveson came out. I could see his face quite clearly in the moonlight, but I was crouching some way below him on the stair where it was dark, and he did not see me at all. He stood there a moment, swaying on his feet, and looked ghastly. He seemed to be listening. Then with an effort he seemed to pull himself together, and opening the door into the tower room, he called out something about there being no harm done. His voice was quite jaunty and debonair, but his face gave the lie to it. He waited a minute more, then slowly went on upstairs and out of sight. When he had gone, I waited a minute or two more, then I crept to the tower room. I had a feeling that something tragic had happened. The main light was out, but the desk lamp was on,
and by its light I saw Sir Reuben lying on the floor by the desk. I don't know how I managed it, but I nerved myself at last to go over and kneel down by him. I saw at once he was dead, struck down from behind, and also that he couldn't have been dead long. I touched his hand, and it was still quite warm. Oh, it was just horrible, Monsieur Poirot, horrible. And then? Yes, Monsieur Poirot, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I give the alarm and raise the house? I should have done so, I know. But it came over me in a flash as I knelt there that my quarrel with Sir Reuben, my stealing out to meet Humphrey, the fact that I was being sent away on the morrow, made a fatal sequence. They would say I had let Humphrey in, and that Humphrey had killed Sir Reuben out of revenge. If I said that I'd seen Charles Levison leaving the room, no one would believe me. It was terrible, Monsieur Poirot. I knelt there, and I thought, and the more I thought, the more my nerve failed me. Presently I noticed Sir Reuben's keys, which had dropped from his pocket as he fell. Among them was the key to the safe. The combination word I already knew, since Lady Astwell had mentioned it once in my hearing. I went over to that safe, Monsieur Poirot. I unlocked it, and I rummaged through the papers I found there. In the end I found what I was looking for. Humphrey had been perfectly right. Sir Reuben was behind the Mapara goldfields, and he had deliberately swindled Humphrey. But that made it all the worse. It gave a perfectly definite motive for Humphrey having committed the crime. I put the papers back in the safe, left the key in the door of it, and went straight upstairs to my room. In the morning I pretended to be surprised and horror-stricken, like everyone else, when the housemaid discovered the body. Oh, you do believe me, Monsieur Poirot? Do say you believe me. I believe you, mademoiselle. You have explained many things that puzzled me. Your absolute certainty, for one thing, that Charles Levison had committed the crime, and at the same time your persistent efforts to keep me from coming down here. I was afraid of you. Lady Astwell could not know, as I did, that Charles was guilty, and I couldn't say anything. I hoped against hope he would refuse to take the case. But for that obvious anxiety on your part, I might have done so. Now, Monsieur Poirot, what are you going to do? As far as you are concerned, mademoiselle, nothing. I believe your story, and I accept it. The next step is to go to London and see Inspector Miller. And then? We shall see. Outside the door of the study, he looked once more at the little square of stained green chiffon which he held in his hand. Amazing! The ingenuity of Hercule Poirot. On leaving Detective Inspector Miller, Poirot's next call was upon the solicitor representing Charles Levison, Mr. Mayhew, the thin, dry, cautious gentleman. He received Poirot with reserve. Poirot, however, had his own ways of inducing confidence. In 10 minutes' time the two were talking together amicably. "You will understand, I am acting in this case solely on behalf of Mr. Levison. That is Lady Astwell's wish. She is convinced that he is not guilty." Yes, quite so. You do not perhaps attach much importance to the opinions of Lady Astwell? She might be just as sure of his guilt tomorrow. Her intuitions are not evidence, certainly. And on the face of it, the case looks very black against this poor young man. It's a pity he said what he did to the police. It'll be no good his sticking to that story. Has he stuck to it with you? Mayhew nodded. It never varies an iota. He repeats it like a parrot. And that is what destroys your faith in him? Oh, don't deny it. I see it only too plainly. In your heart you believe him guilty. But listen now to me, Hercule Poirot. I present to you a case. This young man comes home. He has drunk the cocktail, and again the cocktail. Also, without doubt, the English whisky and soda, many times. He is full of, the courage Dutch. And in that mood he let himself into the house with his latchkey, and he goes with his unsteady steps up to the tower room. He looks in at the door and sees in the dim light his uncle, apparently bending over the desk. Monsieur Levison is full, as we have said, of the courage Dutch. He lets himself go. He tells his uncle just what he thinks of him. He defies him. He insults him. And the more his uncle does not answer back, the more he is encouraged to go on, to repeat himself, to say the same thing over and over again, and each time more loudly. But at last the continued silence of his uncle awakens an apprehension. He goes nearer to him. He lays his hand on his uncle's shoulder, and his uncle's figure crumples under his touch and sinks in a heap on the ground.
The chair falls with a crash, and he bends over Sir Reuben. He realizes what has happened. He looks at his hand, covered with something warm and red. He is in a panic, then. He would give anything on earth to recall the cry which just sprung from his lips, echoing through the house. Mechanically he picks up the chair. Then he hastens out through the door and listens. He fancies he hears a sound, and immediately, automatically, he pretends to be speaking to his uncle through the door. The sound is not repeated. He is convinced he has been mistaken in thinking he heard one. Now all is silence. He creeps up to his room, and at once it occurs to him how much better it would be if he pretends never to have been near his uncle that night. So he tells his story. Parsons at that time, remember, has said nothing of what he heard. When he does do so, it is too late for Monsieur Leveson to change. He is stupid, and he is obstinate. He sticks to his story. Tell me, monsieur, is that not possible? Yes, I suppose, in the way you put it, that it is possible. Poirot rose to his feet. You have the privilege of seeing Monsieur Leveson. Put to him the story I have told you, and ask him if it is not true. Outside the lawyer's office, Poirot hailed a taxi. 348 Harley Street, he murmured to the driver. So you've come back, Monsieur Poirot? I have returned, madame. You went to London? Poirot nodded. You didn't tell me you were going? 1,000 apologies, madame. I am in error. I should have done so. Next time you will do exactly the same. Do things first and tell people afterwards. That's your motto, right enough. Perhaps it has also been madame's motto. Now and then, perhaps. What did you go to London for, Monsieur Poirot? You can tell me now, I suppose. I had an interview with the good Inspector Miller, and also with the excellent Mr. Mayhew. And you think, now, that there is a possibility of Charles Leveson's innocence? Ah! Lady Astwell half sprung up, sending 2 cushions rolling to the ground. I was right, then. I was right. I said a possibility, madame. That is all. Something in his tone seemed to strike her. She raised herself on one elbow and regarded him piercingly. Can I do anything? Yes. You can tell me, Lady Astwell, why you suspect Owen to refuse us. Oh, but I've told you. I just know, that's all. Unfortunately, it is not enough. Cast your mind back to the fatal evening, madame. Remember each detail, each tiny happening. What did you notice or observe about the secretary? I, Hercule Poirot, tell you there must have been something. Well, I hardly noticed him all that evening, and I certainly was not thinking of him. Your mind was taken up by something else? Yes, with your husband's animus against Miss Lily Margrave. Well, that's right. You seem to know all about it, Monsieur Poirot. Me? I know everything. I'm fond of Lily, Monsieur Poirot. Oh, you've seen that for yourself. Reuben began kicking up a rumpus about some reference or other of hers. Now, mind you, I don't say she hadn't cheated about it. She had. But bless you, I've done many worse things than that in the old days. You have to be up to all sorts of tricks to get round theatrical managers. There's nothing I wouldn't have written or said or done in my time. Lily wanted this job, and she put in a lot of slick work that was not quite the thing, you know. But men are so stupid about that kind of thing. Lily really might have been a bank clerk absconding with millions for the fuss he made about it. I was terribly worried all that evening, because although I can usually get around Reuben in the end, he was terribly pig-headed at times, poor darling. So of course I hadn't got time to go noticing secretaries. Not that one does notice Mr. Trefusis much, anyway. He's just there, that's all there is to it. I have noticed that fact about Monsieur Trefusis. His is not a personality that stands forth, that shines, that hits you crack. No, he's not like Victor. Monsieur Victor Astwell is, I should say, explosive. It's a splendid word for him. He explodes all over the house, like one of those thingamajig firework things. Somewhat quick temper, I should imagine. Oh, he's a perfect devil when roused. Bless you, I'm not afraid of him. All bark and no bite, Victor. Poirot looked at the ceiling. And you can tell me nothing about the secretary that evening. I tell you, Monsieur Poirot, I know. It is intuition, a woman's intuition. But that will not hang a man, and what is more to the point, it will not save a man from being hanged.
Lady Astwell, if you sincerely believe that Monsieur Leveson is innocent, and that your suspicions of the secretary are well founded, will you consent to a little experiment? What kind of experiment? Will you permit yourself to be put into a condition of hypnosis? Whatever for? If I were to tell you, madame, that your intuition is based on certain facts recorded subconsciously, you would probably be sceptical. I would only say then that this experiment I propose may be of great importance to that unfortunate young man, Charles Leveson. You will not refuse? Who is going to put me in a trance? You? A friend of mine, Lady Astwell. He arrives, if I mistake not, at this very minute. I hear the wheels of the car outside. Well, who is he? A Dr. Cazalet of Harley Street. Is he all right? He is not a quack, madame, if that is what you mean. You can trust yourself in his hands quite safely. Well, I think it's all bunkum, but you can try it if you like. Nobody's going to say I stood in your way. 1,000 thanks, madame. Well, how do we start this tomfoolery? That's quite simple, Lady Astwell, quite simple. You just lean back. That's right. There's no need to be uneasy. I'm not in the least uneasy. I should like to see anyone hypnotize me against my will. Yes, but if you consent, it won't be against your will it? That's right. Now, turn off the other lights, will you, Mr. Poirot? Just let yourself go to sleep, Lady Astwell. Now it's getting late. You're sleepy, very sleepy. Your eyelids are heavy. They are closing. Soon you will be asleep. You are asleep, Lady Astwell, but you hear me, and you can answer my question. I want you to go back to the evening on which your husband was murdered. You remember that evening? Yes. You are at the dinner table. Describe to me what you saw and felt. I'm in great distress. I'm worried about Lily. We know that. Tell us what you saw. Victor is eating all the salted almonds. He is greedy. Tomorrow I shall tell Parsons not to put the dish on that side of the table. Go on, Lady Astwell. Reuben is in a bad humour tonight. I don't think it's altogether about Lily. It's something to do with business. Victor looks at him in a queer way.
Tell us about Mr. Trefusis, Lady Astwell.
His left shirt cuff is frayed. Puts a lot of grease on his hair. Wish men didn't. It ruins the covers in the drawing-room.
Please go on. After dinner. After dinner, Lady Astwell. You are having coffee. Describe the scene to me.
The coffee is good tonight. It varies. Cook is very unreliable over her coffee. Lily keeps looking out of the window. I don't know why. Now Reuben comes into the room. Oh, he's in one of his worst moods tonight. He bursts out of a perfect flood of abuse to poor Mr. Trefusis. Mr. Trefusis has his hand round the paper knife, the big one with the sharp blade. How hard he is grasping it. His knuckles are quite white. Look, he's dug so hard into the table that the point snaps. He holds it just as you would hold a dagger you were going to stick into someone. There, they've gone out together now. Lily has got her green evening dress on. She looks so pretty in green, just like a lily. I must have those covers cleaned next week. Just a minute, Lady Astwell. Yes, we have got it, I think. That action with the paper knife. That is what convinced her that the secretary did the thing. Let us go on to the tower room now. It is later in the evening. You are in the tower room with your husband. You and he have had a terrible scene together, have you not? Yes, terrible, terrible. We said dreadful things, both of us. Never mind that now. You can see the room clearly. The curtains were drawn, the lights were on. Not the middle light, only the desk light. You are leaving your husband now. You are saying good night to him. No, I was too angry. It is the last time you will see him. Very soon he will be murdered. Do you know who murdered him, Lady Astwell? Yes, Mr. Trefusis. Why do you say that? Because of the bulge in the curtain. There was a bulge in the curtain? Yes. You saw it? Yes, I almost touched it. Was there a man concealed there? Mr. Trefusis? Yes. How do you know? Because of the paper knife. Poirot and the doctor interchanged swift glances.
I don't understand you, Lady Astwell. There was a bulge in the curtain, you say, someone concealed there, but you didn't see the person. No. You thought it was Mr. Trefusis because of the way he held the paper knife earlier. Yes. But Mr. Trefusis had gone to bed, had he not? Yes. Yes, that's right. He'd gone away to his room. So he could not have been behind the curtain in the window. No. No, of course not. He wasn't there. He had said good night to your husband some time before, hadn't he? Yes. And you didn't see him again? No. I think she's coming out of it. I think we've got all we can. Very well. You are waking. You are waking. In another minute you will open your eyes. The two men waited, and presently Lady Astwell sat upright and stared at them both. Have I been having a nap? That's it, Lady Astwell, just a little sleep. Some of your hocus-pocus, hm? You don't feel any worse, I hope. No, rather tired. I will ask them to send you up some coffee, and we will leave you for the present. Did I say anything? It was nothing of importance, madame, although you informed us that the drawing-room covers need cleaning. So they do. Well, you needn't have put me in a trance to get me to tell you that. Anything more? Do you remember Monsieur Trefusis picking up a paper knife in the drawing-room that night? I don't know, I'm sure. He may have done so. Does a bulge in the curtain convey anything to you? I seem to remember... no, it's gone. And yet, do not distress yourself, Lady Astwell. It is of no importance. Of no importance whatsoever. The following morning, going with his soft cat-like tread into the library, the detective startled Owen Trefusis, who leapt from his chair as though he had been shot. You must excuse me, Monsieur Poirot, but you have us on the jump. Indeed? How is that? I will admit that I thought the case against Charles Levison utterly overwhelming, but you apparently did not find it so. Poirot was standing looking out of a window. He turned suddenly to the other. I shall tell you something, Monsieur Trefusis, in confidence. Yes, but Poirot seemed in no hurry to begin. He waited a minute, hesitating. When he did speak, the opening words were coincident with the opening and shutting of the front door. For a man saying something in confidence, he spoke rather loudly, his voice drowning the sound of a footstep in the hall outside. I shall tell you this in confidence, Mr. Trefusis. There is no evidence. It goes to prove that when Charles Levison entered the tower room that night, Sir Reuben was already dead. But what evidence? Why have we not heard of it? You will hear. In the meantime, you and I alone know the secret. He skipped nimbly out of the room, and almost collided with Victor Astwell in the hall outside. Oh, you have just come in, monsieur? Astwell nodded. Beastly day outside. Cold and blowy. Ah, I shall not promenade myself today. Me, I am like a cat. I sit by the fire and keep myself warm. Ah, Georges, he said that evening to his faithful valet, rubbing his hands as he spoke. They are on the tenterhooks, and they jump. It is hard, Georges, to play the game of a cat, the waiting game. But it answers, yes, it answers wonderfully. Tomorrow we make a further effect. On the following day, Trefusis was obliged to go up to town, and he went by the same train as Victor Astwell. No sooner had they left the house than Poirot was galvanized into a fever of activity. Come, Georges, let us hurry to work. If the housemaid should approach these rooms, you must delay her. Speak to her sweet nothings, Georges, and keep her in the corridor. He went first to the secretary's room and began a thorough search. Not a drawer or shelf was left uninspected. Then he replaced everything hurriedly and declared his quest finished. George, on guard in the doorway, gave way to a deferential cough. If you'll excuse me, sir. Yes, my good George. The shoes, sir. The 2 pairs of brown shoes. They were on the second shelf, and the patent leather ones were on the shelf underneath. In replacing them, you have reversed the order. Marvellous! But do not let us distress ourselves over that. It is of no importance, I assure you, George, for never will Monsieur Trefusis notice such a trifling matter. As you think, sir? It is your business to notice such things, said Poirot, encouragingly, as he clapped the other on the shoulder. It reflects credit upon you. The valet did not reply, and when, later in the day, the proceeding was repeated in the room of Victor Astwell,
He made no comment on the fact that Mr. Astwell's underclothing was not returned to its drawers strictly according to plan. Yet in the second case at least events proved the valet to be right and Poirot wrong. Victor Astwell came storming into the drawing-room that evening. "Now look here, you blasted little Belgian jackanapes, what do you mean by searching my room? What the devil do you think you're going to find there? I won't have it, do you hear? That's what comes of having a ferreting little spy in the house." Poirot's hands spread themselves out eloquently as his words tumbled one over the other. He offered 100 apologies, 1,000, 1,000,000. He had been maladroit, officious. He was confused. He had taken an unwanted liberty. In the end, the infuriated gentleman was forced to subside, still growling. And again, that evening, sipping his tisane, Poirot murmured to George, "It marches, my good George. Yes, it marches. Friday is my lucky day." "Indeed, sir? You are not superstitious, perhaps, my good George?" "I prefer not to sit down 13 at table, sir, and I am averse to passing under ladders, but I've no superstitions about a Friday, sir." "Oh, that is well, for you see, today we make our Waterloo." "Really, sir, you have such enthusiasm, my good George. You do not even ask what I propose to do." "And what is that, sir?" "Today, George, I make a final, thorough search of the tower room." "I have to admit it," said Lady Astwell. "He is getting on my nerves. He has something up his sleeve, and I don't know what it is. And the way he's crawling about on the floor up in the tower room like a dog, it makes me downright shivery. What is he looking for, I'd like to know? Lily, my dear, I wish you would go up and see what he is up to now. No, on the whole, I'd rather you stayed with me." "Shall I go, Lady Astwell?" asked the secretary, rising from the desk. "If you would, Mr. Trefusis." Owen Trefusis left the room and mounted the stairs to the tower room. At first glance he thought the room was empty. There was certainly no sign of Hercule Poirot there. He was just returning to go down again when a sound caught his ears. He then saw the little man halfway down the spiral staircase that led to the bedroom above. He was on his hands and knees. In his left hand was a little pocket lens, and through this he was examining minutely something on the woodwork beside the stair carpet. As the secretary approached him, he uttered a sudden grunt and slipped the lens into his pocket. He rose to his feet, holding something between his finger and thumb. "Ah, Monsieur Trefusis, I did not hear you enter. What's the matter, Monsieur Poirot? You look very pleased." "Yes, indeed. See, I have at last found that which I have been looking for from the beginning. I have here between my finger and thumb the one thing necessary to convict the criminal." "Then it was not Charles Levison?" "It was not Charles Levison. Until this moment, though I know the criminal, I am not sure of his name, but at last all is clear. I am obliged to go to London immediately. Speak to Lady Astwell for me. Will you request of her that everyone should be assembled in the tower room this evening at 9 o'clock? I shall be there then, and I shall reveal the truth. Ha me, but I am well content." And breaking into a fantastic little dance, he skipped from the tower room. Trefusis was left staring after him. A few minutes later, Poirot appeared in the library, demanding if anyone could supply him with a little cardboard box. "Unfortunately, I have not such a thing with me, and there is something of great value that it is necessary for me to put inside." Trefusis produced a small box from one of the drawers in the desk. "Ah, this is splendid." Poirot hurried upstairs with his treasure trove. Meeting George on the landing, he handed the box to him. "There is something of great importance inside here. Place it, my good George, in the second drawer of my dressing-table beside the jewel case that contains my pearl studs." "Very good, sir." "Do not break it. Be very careful. Inside that box is something that will hang a criminal." Poirot hurried down the stairs again, and seizing his hat, departed from the house at a brisk run. His return was more unostentatious. The faithful George, according to orders, admitted him by the side door. "They are all in the tower room?" "Yes, sir." There was a murmured interchange of a few words, and then Poirot mounted with the triumphant step of a victor to that room where the murder had taken place less than a month ago. His eyes swept round the room. They were all there. Lady Astwell, Victor Astwell, Lily Margrave, the secretary, and Parsons the butler. "This has been a case of great interest. It is interesting because anyone might have murdered Sir Reuben Astwell. Who inherits his money? Charles Levison and Lady Astwell. Who was with him last that night? Lady Astwell. Who quarrelled with him violently? Again, Lady Astwell. What are you talking about? I don't understand. But someone else quarrelled with Sir Reuben. Someone else left him that night, white with rage. Supposing Lady Astwell left her husband alive at 11:45 that night. There would be 10 minutes before Mr. Charles Levison returned. 10 minutes in which it would be possible for someone from the second floor to steal down and do the deed, and then return to his room again. Victor Astwell sprang up with a cry. "What the hell?" He stopped, choking with rage. "In a rage, Mr. Astwell, you once killed a man in West Africa." "I don't believe it! I don't believe it!" cried Lily Margrave. She came forward, her hands clenched, 2 bright spots of colour in her cheeks. "I don't believe it!" She came close to Victor Astwell's side. "And it's true, Lily, but there are things this man doesn't know. The fellow I killed was a witch doctor, and he had just massacred 15 children. Now I consider that to be justified." Lily came up to Poirot. "Monsieur Poirot, you are wrong. Because a man has a sharp temper, because he breaks out and says all kinds of things, that is not a reason why he should do murder. I know, I tell you, but Mr. Astwell is incapable of such a thing." Poirot looked at her, a very curious smile on his face. Then he took her hand in his and patted it gently. "You see, mademoiselle, you also have your intuitions. You believe in Mr. Astwell, do you not? Mr. Astwell is a good man, and he is honest. He has nothing to do with the inside work of the Mapala goldfields. He is good through and through, and I have promised to marry him." Victor Astwell came to her side and took her other hand. "Before God, Monsieur Poirot, I didn't kill my brother." "I know you did not. Listen, my friend." His eyes swept around the room. "In a hypnotic trance, Lady Astwell mentioned having seen a bulge in the curtain that night." Everyone's eyes swept to the window. "You mean there was a burglar concealed there? Well, what a splendid solution!" "Ah, but it was not that curtain." Poirot wheeled round and pointed to the curtain that masked the little staircase. "Sir Reuben used the bedroom the night prior to the crime. He breakfasted in bed and had Mr. Trefusis up there to give him instructions. I don't know what it was that Mr. Trefusis left in that bedroom, but there was something. When he said good night to Sir Reuben and Lady Astwell, he remembered this thing, and he ran up the stairs to fetch it. I don't think either the husband or wife noticed him, for they had already begun a violent discussion. They were in the middle of this quarrel when Mr. Trefusis came down the stairs again. The things they were saying to each other were of such an intimate and personal nature that Mr. Trefusis was placed in a very awkward position. It was clear to him that they imagined he had left the room some time ago. Fearing to arouse Sir Reuben's anger against himself, he decided to remain where he was and slip out later. He stayed there, behind the curtain, and as Lady Astwell left the room, she subconsciously noticed the outline of his form there. When Lady Astwell had left the room, Trefusis tried to steal once more out unobserved, but Sir Reuben happened to turn his head and became aware of the secretary's presence. Already in a bad temper, Sir Reuben hurled abuse at his secretary, and accused him of deliberately eavesdropping and spying. Messieurs and Mesdames, I am a student of psychology. All through this case I have looked not for the bad-tempered man or woman, for bad temper is its own safety valve. He who can bark does not bite. No, I have looked for the good-tempered man, for the man who is patient and self-controlled, for the man who for 9 years has played the part of the underdog. There is no strain so great as that which has endured for years. There is no resentment like that which accumulates slowly. For 9 years Sir Reuben has bullied and browbeaten his secretary, and for 9 years that man has endured in silence. But there comes a day when at last the strain reaches its breaking point. Something snaps. It was so that night. Sir Reuben sat down at his desk again, but the secretary, instead of turning humbly and meekly to the door, picks up the heavy wooden club and strikes down the man who has bullied him. Once too often. He turned to Trefusis, who was staring at him as though turned to stone. It was so simple, your alibi. Mr. Astwell thought you were in your room, but no one saw you go there. You were just stealing out after striking down Sir Reuben when you heard a sound. You hastened back to cover, behind the curtain. You were behind there when Charles Leveson entered the room. You were there when Lily Margrave came. It was not till long after that you crept up through a silent house to your bedroom. Do you deny it? I never. Ah, let us finish this. For 2 weeks now I have played the comedy. I have showed you the net closing slowly around you. The fingerprints, footprints, search of your room, things artistically replaced. I have struck terror into you with all of this. You have lain awake at night, fearing and wondering. Did you leave a fingerprint in the room, or a footprint somewhere? Again and again you have gone over the events of that night, wondering what you have done or left undone. And so I brought you to the state where you made a slip. I saw the fear leap into your eyes today when I picked up something from the stairs where you had stood hidden that night. Then I made a great parade, the little box, the entrusting of it to Georges. And I go out.
Poirot turned towards the door. Georges? I am here, sir. Will you tell these ladies and gentlemen what my instructions were? I was to remain concealed in the wardrobe in your room, sir, having placed the cardboard box where you told me to. At 3:30 this afternoon, sir, Mr. Trefusis entered the room. He went to the drawer and took out the box in question.
And in that box was a common pin. Me, I always speak the truth. I did pick up something on the stairs this morning. It is your English saying, is it not? See a pin and pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck. Me, I have had good luck. I have found the murderer.
He turned to the secretary.
You see, you betrayed yourself.
Suddenly Trefusis broke down. He sank into a chair, sobbing, his face buried in his hands.
I was mad. I was mad. Oh, my God, he badgered and bullied me beyond bearing. For years I hated and loathed him.
I knew,
cried Lady Astwell. She sprang forward, her face irradiated with savage triumph.
I knew that man had done it.
She stood there, savage and triumphant. And you are right. One may call things by different names. But the fact remains, your intuition, Lady Astwell, proved correct.